Ladies and gentlemen, when we think of love, many of us imagine closeness, intimacy, and togetherness, but rarely do we think of boundaries. The truth is, boundaries are not barriers that push people apart. They are bridges that allow love to grow stronger. Without them, relationships suffocate. With them, relationships flourish. Boundaries protect individuality. In love, two people come together, but they remain two unique individuals. Boundaries ensure that we do not lose ourselves in the relationship. They give us room to breathe, space to grow, and freedom to express who we truly are. When your partner respects your space and you respect theirs, love doesn't shrink, it expands. Boundaries build respect. Every relationship requires a foundation of respect. Boundaries are how we communicate our needs, values, and limits. When those limits are honored, it creates trust and admiration. Instead of controlling each other, we uplift each other. Respect says, I see you, I hear you, I honor your worth. Boundaries strengthen trust. Trust is not built simply on words. It's built on consistent actions. When you know your partner will respect your emotional, physical, and personal boundaries, you feel safe. And where there is safety, love blossoms. Trust is not about blind faith. It's about mutual respect for each other's limits. Boundaries prevent resentment. So many relationships fail because one person gives too much while the other takes too much. Over time, that imbalance breeds frustration and distance. Boundaries keep love healthy by ensuring both partners give and receive in harmony. They prevent hidden anger and replace it with honest communication. Boundaries create freedom. Here's the paradox. The healthiest love is not about control, but about freedom. Boundaries give you the freedom to be yourself without fear or judgment. And when two people feel free, they don't have to love each other. They choose to love each other. And that choice, made daily, is what keeps love alive. So let us remember, healthy boundaries are not the end of love. They are the beginning of deeper love. They don't build walls between us. They build doors where trust, respect, and freedom can walk through. True love is not about losing yourself for someone else. True love is about finding someone who allows you to be fully yourself, while standing beside you with respect and care. And that is why healthy boundaries do not weaken love. They make love unbreakable. When two people fall in love, it feels magical. The closeness, the late night conversations, the shared dreams, all of it feels like nothing could ever separate you. In the beginning, you want to spend every moment together, and there's this natural tendency to blend into each other's worlds. That is beautiful, but here's the challenge. When we forget to maintain our individuality, we risk losing ourselves inside the relationship. Boundaries are what protect that individuality. They act as gentle reminders that, yes, we are in love, but we are also still two unique, whole people. And if we lose ourselves, if we abandon who we are, then what we bring into the relationship starts to fade. Think about it this way. A healthy relationship is not two halves coming together to make one whole. It's two complete individuals walking side by side. Each person already has their own identity, their own passions, their own voice, and their own light. The relationship doesn't erase that, it should magnify it. Unfortunately, many people believe that love means sacrificing themselves entirely for their partner. They stop pursuing their passions, they abandon their personal goals, and they silence their own needs just to keep the relationship peaceful. But what actually happens? They start to feel empty. They start to feel like they are disappearing. And when one person disappears in love, resentment soon follows. Healthy boundaries prevent this. They allow you to say, yes, I love you, but I also love myself. Yes, I want to be close to you, but I also need time for my own growth. Boundaries protect your sense of self, so that instead of shrinking in love, you expand in it. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman who loves painting. Before her relationship, she would spend hours painting in her studio. But after falling in love, she begins to spend all her time with her partner. Slowly, painting gets pushed aside. At first, it doesn't feel like a big deal, but after months, she begins to feel something missing. Her partner notices she seems less joyful, less creative, less vibrant. What happened? She abandoned a part of herself. Now imagine if she had set a boundary. I need at least a few hours a week to paint. It feeds my soul. It makes me feel alive. By respecting that boundary, her partner doesn't lose her to art. He actually gains a better version of her, a happier, more fulfilled person. And that joy brings more energy, more love, and more passion into the relationship. That's the beauty of individuality. When you protect your personal identity, your relationship gets stronger, not weaker, because your partner didn't fall in love with a blank canvas. They fell in love with you, with your colors, your passions, your uniqueness. And boundaries make sure those things are never erased. Without boundaries, relationships can become suffocating. People start to confuse closeness with control and love with ownership. But with boundaries, relationships become empowering. They say, I don't own you, I choose you, and I want you to remain fully yourself while we walk this journey together. So remember this, boundaries are not selfish. They are self-respect. They are not walls to keep your partner out. They are doors that allow both of you to stay alive, whole, and true within love. Because when you bring your full, authentic self into the relationship, you give your partner the greatest gift possible, the real you. And that is why boundaries are not a threat to love. They are the fuel that keeps love alive. Respect is the heartbeat of every lasting relationship. Without it, attraction fades, communication breaks, and love struggles to survive. And the truth is, respect doesn't happen automatically. It has to be built, nurtured, and maintained. One of the most powerful ways respect is built in love is through boundaries. Think of boundaries as the guidelines that tell your partner, this is how I need to be treated in order to feel valued and safe. When those boundaries are expressed clearly, and when your partner honors them, respect grows deeper and stronger. Let's be honest, most relationships break down not because of a lack of love, but because of a lack of respect. One partner talks over the other, one dismisses the other's feelings, one crosses lines that were never meant to be crossed. And slowly, little by little, the respect that once held the relationship together begins to crumble. But when boundaries are present, something powerful happens. Both partners begin to understand that love is not about control, it's about honor. Respect says, I see your values. I recognize your needs. I honor your feelings. And when two people feel respected, they feel safe. And when they feel safe, love can grow without fear. Consider a simple example. Imagine a man who needs quiet time after a long day of work to recharge. If his partner dismisses this need and constantly demands his attention the second he gets home, he will eventually feel disrespected and drained. But if she honors his boundary, giving him even 30 minutes to reset, he will not only feel respected, but he will return to her with more energy, more presence, and more love. Or picture the reverse. A woman expresses that she feels uncomfortable with certain kinds of jokes or comments. If her partner ignores her feelings and continues making them, disrespect grows, even if he claims it's just a joke. But if he listens, honors her boundary, and changes his behavior, respect deepens. She feels seen, valued, and cared for. That's what boundaries do. They set the standard for how love should operate. They remind both partners that love is not about convenience, it's about consideration. Now, some people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are about pushing someone away or restricting love. But boundaries are not about creating distance. They are about creating clarity. They communicate. This is where my comfort ends and where I need your understanding to begin. And when that understanding is given, it doesn't push people apart. It pulls them closer. Respect through boundaries also prevents manipulation. In relationships without boundaries, it's easy for one person to take advantage of the other, whether emotionally, mentally, or even financially. But when boundaries are present, both people know where the lines are. Respect means those lines are never crossed, and here's the beautiful thing. When you respect someone's boundaries, you actually earn more freedom in the relationship. Why? Because they trust you. They trust that you will not misuse their vulnerability or disregard their needs. That trust turns into more openness, more honesty, and more intimacy. On the other hand, when boundaries are ignored, love begins to feel unsafe. Without respect, a relationship becomes a battlefield of power struggles rather than a partnership of equals. But with respect, love becomes a safe home, a place where both partners feel valued, not violated. So let us remember, boundaries are not about saying, I don't want you close. They are about saying, I want you close, but in a way that honors me and honors you. That is the essence of respect, recognizing each other's humanity, valuing each other's worth, and treating each other with dignity. When respect flows through a relationship, attraction deepens, trust solidifies, and love becomes something far greater than fleeting emotions. It becomes a bond built on honor, and the tool that builds that honor day by day is healthy boundaries. Trust is the foundation of every healthy relationship. Without trust, love feels fragile, uncertain, and unstable. With trust, love feels safe, strong, and unshakable. But here's the important truth. Trust is not built by grand promises or poetic words. It is built by actions, by consistency, and most importantly, by respecting boundaries. Let's be honest, many people confuse trust with blind faith. They think trust means, I'll just believe you no matter what you do. But real trust is not blind, it's earned. And one of the greatest ways trust is earned is when someone shows you, over and over again, that they will honor your limits. Think about it. When you tell your partner that something hurts you emotionally, and they never repeat that behavior, you begin to trust that they care about your heart. When you set a boundary about your personal space, and they respect it without pushing, you begin to trust that they respect your autonomy. When you share a vulnerable truth about your past, and they guard it instead of using it against you, you begin to trust that your soul is safe in their hands. That's what boundaries do. They create a structure where trust can grow naturally. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine a couple where one partner shares a painful childhood memory. That moment is raw, vulnerable, and delicate. Now, if the other partner laughs at it, dismisses it, or brings it up in an argument, the trust between them cracks. But if that partner listens carefully, responds with compassion, and protects that vulnerability, trust multiplies. Why? Because respecting emotional boundaries is proof that love is safe. Or consider physical boundaries. Maybe one partner says, I need some time to recharge alone after social events. If the other pushes, criticizes, or makes them feel guilty for needing space, the message is clear. Your needs don't matter. But if the partner respects it, if they say, I understand, take the time you need, trust deepens. That small act tells the other person, I see you, I respect you, and I will not cross your limits. Trust also grows when financial, spiritual, or even digital boundaries are respected. For example, if someone says, please don't go through my phone, I value my privacy, and their partner honors that, trust thrives. If that boundary is crossed, suspicion, fear, and doubt creep in. And here's the truth, once trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild. That's why boundaries are so important. They act as protective walls that keep trust safe. Every time you respect a boundary, you are depositing trust into the relationship. Every time you cross one, you are withdrawing from it. A strong relationship is built when the deposits far outweigh the withdrawals. The irony is, boundaries don't weaken trust. They strengthen it. Without boundaries, people feel exposed, unsafe, and vulnerable to being hurt. But with boundaries, they feel secure, and security is what allows love to open up fully. When you know someone will not cross your lines, you can share your heart freely. When you know someone values your boundaries, you dare to dream together without fear. Trust is not about saying, I'll never hurt you. That's impossible because we're all human. Trust is about saying, even when I fall short, I will honor what matters to you. I will respect your boundaries. So remember this. Trust is not something that magically appears, it's something we build every single day. And the building blocks are boundaries. Boundaries make trust steady, reliable, and unshakable. When boundaries are respected, trust becomes more than a word. It becomes a living, breathing reality. And when trust is alive, love can stand the test of time. One of the silent killers of love is not a loud fight, not a major betrayal, not even a dramatic breakup. It's something quieter, something slower, but far more dangerous. It's resentment. Resentment is like a slow leak in a tire. At first, it seems small, almost unnoticeable, but over time, that small leak causes the whole tire to go flat. In the same way, small moments of unspoken frustration, unmet needs, or repeated disrespect build up until love feels heavy, bitter, and broken. Now here's the truth. Most resentment in relationships comes from a lack of boundaries. When one partner gives too much without limits, while the other takes too much without awareness, the relationship becomes unbalanced. And imbalance is the soil where resentment grows. Think of a woman who constantly sacrifices her needs for her partner. She cooks when she's exhausted, says yes when she wants to say no, and silences her own dreams just to keep him happy. At first, it looks like love, even devotion. But over time, deep inside, frustration begins to build. She starts to feel unseen, unappreciated, and taken for granted. Eventually, that quiet frustration turns into resentment, and resentment destroys connection. Or consider a man who allows his partner to constantly interrupt him, dismiss his ideas, or cross his personal boundaries. Instead of speaking up, he keeps silent to keep the peace. But every time his boundary is crossed, a seed of bitterness is planted. Silence doesn't remove the problem. It magnifies it, and one day that bottled-up resentment explodes. Healthy boundaries prevent this from happening. Boundaries act like protective fences around the relationship. They make sure that both partners are giving and receiving fairly, that neither feels drained, and that love remains balanced. For example, setting a boundary might sound like this. I can't always be available at the last minute. I need notice. I need personal time for myself on weekends to recharge. I'm willing to help, but I can't handle this responsibility alone. At first, some people fear that setting boundaries sounds selfish, but in reality, boundaries are the opposite of selfish. They are self-respect. They ensure that love stays healthy, not heavy. Because when both people are clear about their limits, there's no room for silent frustration to grow into resentment. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine pouring water into a cup with no bottom. No matter how much you pour, it will never feel full. That's what it's like when a relationship has no boundaries. One person gives endlessly, but it's never enough. Boundaries, on the other hand, create structure. They put a bottom on the cup so that when you give love, it fills up, it matters, and it lasts. Resentment also poisons communication. A partner filled with resentment often stops talking openly because they think, what's the point? They won't listen. But with boundaries, communication stays clear. You can express what you need without fear, and your partner knows exactly how to love you in a way that feels right. Here's the hard truth. Without boundaries, love slowly turns into obligation. You start doing things not because you want to, but because you feel you have to. And when love feels like an obligation, it loses its joy. But when boundaries are respected, love feels like a choice, a daily, joyful choice. So remember this. Boundaries are not about pushing someone away. They are about keeping resentment away. They are about keeping love clean, balanced, and free of hidden bitterness. When both partners set boundaries, resentment has no soil to grow in. Instead, respect, fairness, and harmony take its place. And in that kind of environment, love doesn't weaken over time, it strengthens. Boundaries may sound firm, but they are actually the most loving gift you can give to a relationship, because they ensure that your love remains healthy and your heart remains free from resentment. One of the biggest misconceptions about boundaries is that they trap us. People often hear the word boundary and think of restrictions, limits, or even walls, but the truth is, boundaries don't create prisons, they create freedom. And in love, freedom is not the enemy of connection. Freedom is the very thing that keeps love alive. Think about it. Love that comes from control or pressure doesn't last. If you feel forced to love someone, or if you stay only out of guilt or obligation, that love becomes heavy. But when love exists in an environment of freedom, where you are free to be yourself, free to choose, free to grow, that love becomes powerful, joyful, and enduring. Boundaries are what make that kind of freedom possible. For example, when a partner respects your personal space, you feel free instead of suffocated. When they honor your right to say no, you feel safe to say yes with sincerity. When they respect your individuality, you feel free to bring your whole self into the relationship without fear of judgment or control. That freedom creates a deeper bond, because here's the paradox: the freer you feel, the more you want to stay. When someone honors your boundaries, you don't feel trapped. You feel cherished, and when you feel cherished, love becomes a choice, not a chain. Let's picture this in real life. Imagine a man who loves spending time with his friends on weekends. If his partner constantly makes him feel guilty for leaving, he starts to feel trapped. The more trapped he feels, the more he secretly resents the relationship. But if his partner respects his boundary and encourages him to spend time with his friends, he feels supported and free. And because he feels free, he naturally wants to come back, to share his joy, to give even more to the relationship. Or think of a woman who values her career deeply. If her partner dismisses it and pressures her to give it up, she will feel resentful and restricted. But if her partner respects her boundary and supports her ambitions, she feels free to thrive. And the more she thrives individually, the more strength and passion she brings into the relationship. That's what freedom looks like in love. It's not about living separate lives. It's about creating space where both lives can breathe. Boundaries also create emotional freedom. When you know your partner won't dismiss your feelings or use your vulnerabilities against you, you feel free to share openly. You don't hold back, you don't hide parts of yourself. That kind of freedom creates the deepest intimacy possible because you know you can be completely real. And here's the most important part: freedom makes love a choice. Without boundaries, people stay because they feel they have no option. With boundaries, people stay because they want to. And every day, when two people choose each other freely, that love becomes stronger. Love without freedom is a cage. Love with freedom is a garden. In a cage, love suffocates. In a garden, love grows. And boundaries are the fences that protect that garden, not to lock you in, but to keep out the things that could harm it. So remember this: boundaries are not chains that hold love back. They are wings that allow love to fly. They don't weaken connection. They strengthen it, because when both partners feel free, they are not forced to love each other. They choose to love each other again and again every single day, and that choice, the choice born from freedom, is the most powerful love of all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have journeyed through the heart of what makes relationships truly thrive. We have seen how healthy boundaries protect individuality, build respect, strengthen trust, prevent resentment, and create freedom. And now, as we bring this to a close, let us tie it all together with one undeniable truth. Healthy boundaries are not the enemy of love. They are the very foundation of lasting love. Too often, people believe love should be limitless, that true love means giving without pause, sacrificing without question, and merging into one another without space. But limitless love, without boundaries, quickly turns into exhaustion, resentment, and imbalance. Love without boundaries is like a fire without a fireplace. It burns everything around it. But love with boundaries is like a fire within a hearth that warms. It comforts, it lasts. Boundaries are the framework that hold love steady. They remind us that love is not about ownership. It is about partnership. Love is not about control. It is about respect. Love is not about losing yourself. It is about bringing your whole self into the relationship and allowing your partner to do the same. Think of the strongest couples you know, the ones who have lasted decades, who have walked through storms and still stand side by side. If you look closely, you will see that their love is not built on endless sacrifice or blind passion. It is built on mutual respect, on trust, on balance, and yes, on boundaries. They have learned to honor each other's individuality, to give each other space to grow, and to respect the invisible lines that protect love from harm. Healthy boundaries don't weaken love, they strengthen it. They give love the space it needs to breathe. They create a rhythm of give and take that prevents burnout. They remind each partner that their needs, their feelings, and their identity matter. And when both people feel valued, love doesn't drain, it multiplies. Now, imagine a relationship without boundaries. One person gives everything while the other takes without thought. One silences their voice while the other dominates. At first, it may look like love, but underneath, it is slowly decaying. That kind of relationship may survive for a while, but it will never thrive. On the other hand, imagine a relationship where both partners know how to say no, with love, and yes, with sincerity. Imagine a love where both people feel free, respected, and trusted. That love doesn't just survive, it grows stronger with every year. Why? Because boundaries keep the balance, and balance keeps love alive. So here is the final message. If you want love to last, you must learn to honor boundaries. Don't see them as walls that separate you. See them as bridges that connect you. Don't see them as limitations. See them as the conditions that allow love to flourish, because love without boundaries is fragile, but love with boundaries is unbreakable. Love without boundaries is a flame that burns out, but love with boundaries is a fire that warms for a lifetime. True love is not about losing yourself for someone else. True love is about standing side by side, two whole individuals, choosing each other freely, respecting each other deeply, and protecting each other's hearts with honor. That is the kind of love we all deserve. That is the kind of love that lasts, and that is why, my friends, healthy boundaries do not weaken love. They create the strongest, deepest, and most enduring love of all. Thank you.